In this lesson, we're going to be introducing our cause animations. Okay, so if I just scrub forward here, you can see I changed the timing of this just a little bit in between lessons. I just pulled that scale keyframe forward so it doesn't start to scale right away. And that just helps it to look a little bit better. And one other thing you might want to do is if you have overlap, you're going to get kind of a weird double. So I'm going to pull that forward just like this. We may actually want to pull this one backwards. So that just helps it to look a little bit better. And just kind of trimming those layers is just cleaning everything up so you don't get the text doubling up. Just like that. So just a very small change in the timing. And now what we want to do is bring on those cause animations once the text is done. So let's go back over here to our infographic split. And these are what I'm talking about right here. So these are our cause icons, and we're going to be creating animations from these. So I just want to go ahead and start with that ocean acidification one. So we'll go ahead and hit Control-C to copy it. We'll go back over to our main coral infographic, and then right above this text layer, we'll hit Control-V to paste it in place. And I'm just kind of panning around here, not seeing it, and that's because these are not the length of the comp. So if we just pull that forward, there we go. They were just hiding. Pull this up a little bit. Just moving this to the center of the comp. Okay, so we have that in place now. And one of the things I want to do, just so I don't keep grabbing that text layer, is once it's off, once all of its keyframes are finished, let's just trim it. So I'm going to move forward and we'll just select that, hit Alt end bracket so we don't accidentally grab it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and grab all of these pieces, and I'm just going to scale them up proportionately. So I'm holding the Shift key and scaling that up. We'll turn on our continuously rasterized switch, and you can see that this kind of messes everything up. It's no longer in place, but we're going to be moving stuff around anyway, so I'm okay with that for now. Right here we've got this waves piece, but for the animation we're going to be creating, we don't really need it. We're going to be using that other waves that we have over in this infographic split. If I zoom backwards, you'll be able to see it here in a second. Okay, so the waves are right up here. Let's just go ahead and copy that layer. We'll hit Control-C, go back to our other infographic, comp, and hit Control-V to paste those waves. Let's make sure this waves layer is the proper length so we can see it. Just extend this out and pull that up to the top. Perfect. Now I do need this to be behind my bubbles, so I'm going to pull this down, just place it right there. And we'll turn on those same switches. And we can just scale this up until we've got about the same size of waves as are on the clipped piece here that matches the circle. Perfect, right there. Okay, so now we've got our clipped waves. I'm just going to delete that layer that was behind there. And we've got just kind of lots of different things going on here. Now what I want to do is select all of these pieces and pre-comp them. So this is going to be its own composition that will be animating inside of that pre-comp. So just go ahead and hit Control-Shift-C, and we'll call this one Ocean Acidification. And that is basically what our narrator is talking about at this point. So let's just pull that forward. And I'm going to hit the period key just so you can hear what he says.
acidification, coral...
Move that back a bit.
Well, there's ocean acidification, coral bleaching.
Okay, so he starts just naming them basically in a list.
Well,
So right about here is where we want this to begin. So I'm just going to start it there.
Ocean acidification.
And that's about where we need the bulk of the animation to happen. So I'll go ahead and double click inside this comp, and let's just pull one of our markers back. We don't need the rest of these markers, so you can actually just control click to cut those markers away. So it's an easy way to delete your markers. Now what I want to do is have my ocean waves animate across that circle. So I'm just going to start it over here. Just maybe kind of like this. And then we'll just move it across. So go ahead and hit the P key to bring up the position of your waves. Set a position keyframe. And we'll move forward to that marker and pull this all the way over here. And if we just scrub this, you can see what that looks like. It may be too fast, so we may actually have the waves animation last longer than those keys. Let's grab our work area. Just hit the B key and the N key to crop that in. So it does seem a little bit fast. Let's kind of just double up that speed. We don't have to use the whole layer. Great, so that just looks like the waves are animating across that circle. And now what I'm going to do is turn the transparency down of this just for a moment. So hit the T key and just turn that down very slightly. Now let's go back out to our main infographic, and you can see where the edge of that circle is now. And I just want to mask this so that you can't see the outside of those waves. So we'll just grab our ellipse tool, and I'm holding Shift and Control to draw that mask from the center. And if you don't get it in the perfect center, you can always hold the space bar, and that'll let you move that mask around. Great, so that's pretty close. All right, so once you get that finished up, looks like you might have just a little bit of a overhang here. So you can just double click the edge, and then come down here to the bottom, just hold Shift, and we'll scale it in just very slightly. Perfect. Okay, so now let's go back into our ocean acidification comp, and I'm going to start animating these bubbles. But first I want to just kind of position them in an interesting way around the whole thing. And mostly just in the water, but some of them can be a little bit higher as well. Just kind of like that. So now what I want to do is have the bubbles animate up from the bottom. So I want them to start out where you can't see anything at all. And just so I make it a little bit easier on myself, I'm only going to animate that highest bubble that we have here. So I'm going to grab that one and just drag it to the top of all my bubbles. Then we'll just select all of our other bubbles and parent them to that first bubble. So this is just going to make it easier. Now we'll select this one, hit the P key to bring up the position. And then let's go ahead and push him down so he's beneath everything. And we'll move forward. And let's have these bubbles animated up and onto this solid. Now because the bubbles are the same color as the background, we don't have to worry about creating any kind of a mask or something to cover those up. Now we do probably not want that bubble to come off the edge, but if we go back up to our main coral infographic, the mask looks like it's covering it up. So I'm not even going to worry about changing that. Okay, so now we have this nice little animation with those bubbles kind of just all coming up just like that. Now let's maybe add a little bit of variation to this and select all of our bubbles, and we'll make them 3D. And now what I want to do is just kind of push some of these back and a few of them forward. Now you want to be careful maybe not to mess with this one because it's the one with the keyframes. And this is just going to give me some parallax in those bubbles, so some of them are going to move faster than others. Now it's going to be subtle because I don't want to change too much in the position, but I do want to just be able to see a little bit of variation. So now you can see just ever so slightly some of those bubbles get that parallax, so you can kind of start to see it right in there. And if you really want to have it look like there's a lot more, you can bring maybe one of them really far forward, and then let's move it up a bit. You got to be really careful not to do it too much whenever it's that close to the camera. Sometimes you have better luck just grabbing the layer and repositioning it. So you see that bubble moves a lot faster. And maybe we could have this one move more quickly too. Now whenever you move a big one like this, you have to scale it back down just so it's not so overwhelming. And let's pull this one down so it's not there at the beginning. Just scale that down a bit. And then I'll just scrub through here again and we'll watch that. Great, so that parallax is really adding to everything. I'm going to move this one forward as well. Scale that down, put it back in place. Awesome. So this is really starting to look very dynamic. And I think that maybe we could grab this piece right here and duplicate it, and then we'll have another one over here. So I'm going to hit Control D, pull this over here. Maybe we can rotate it, grab your rotation tool, just so it's not in exactly the same configuration as this piece. And let's push it back in Z space a little bit, just like that. Great, so that just looks a little more complete at the end. It didn't look so empty on this side. Let's go back out to our main Coral infographic and see what we have here. So the only problem is that one of our waves is being obstructed by a bubble as they go behind there. So that one needs to go up a little bit higher, which is not too hard to do. We'll just move back and move this up and over out of the way. So we just don't want any of them to end in the path of the waves as they move across. And that still looks fine. We didn't really change anything too terribly much. So you don't have to worry about creating some kind of a mask for those waves and the bubbles. Great. So I'm really happy with the way that that ocean acidification looks. And now I'm going to go ahead and we'll turn on our motion blur for this. And in our next lesson, we're going to learn how to animate this so that we are transitioning away from our ocean acidification comp and onto the next comp, which is going to be coral bleaching. So it's just another one of those causes that he's listing off here, and we'll just transition to that and animate very similarly to what we just did by animating this piece. So stick around and we'll learn how to do that in our next lesson.